Hello everyone, today I'm going to be doing my February wrap up. February was a better month than January. I still didn't get as much read as I wanted to, but I have got 4 books read this month, so I want to share them with you today. The first book I finally got around to reading was Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. I really enjoyed this book. It was very fun. It is a fantasy, which isn't something Rainbow Rowell writes very often, if ever. She usually writes contemporary YA, so this was very different for her, but I did still really enjoy it. This is the fan fiction from Fangirl that Kath writes, so if you've read Fangirl you'll know what I'm talking about. And it is the Simon Snow fanfiction, which in Fangirl is kind of like their version of Harry Potter. So Simon Snow has come from a care home and he now goes to a magical school where he lives in the dorms. And in the dorms he shares a room with a guy called Baz, and Baz is a vampire. Baz and Simon don't see eye to eye at all, they don't speak to each other or anything like that, but when they go on a mission together with their friends Agatha and Penelope, Baz and Simon actually get a bit closer. They are off to defeat the evil Humdrum, and that is basically what the mission is, and that's what brings them closer together. And then there's all the romance and things like that, and it's so lovely. I really like it. I love the romance between Simon and Baz. I think it is so cute. I didn't like Simon as much as I wanted to like him. Like, I did like him, I just didn't love him. Baz is one of my new favourite fictional characters. I love him so much. He is so good. He is a brilliant character, very well developed, really fun to read about, so witty but mysterious as well. He's just so funny and I really enjoyed reading about him. So throughout the book, Baz and Simon obviously become closer and they become friends, and then kind of a relationship sort of starts, things like that, and the scenes when that is happening is so cute. They are adorable in those scenes and it just makes my heart melt every time I read about them. Every little bit that it was them two and just being really cute and everything, I was like, oh my god, it's so cute, I love it so much. It was just amazing. One character I didn't particularly like so much was actually Agatha. I found her really whingy and she just had to be involved in absolutely everything. She just got on my nerves a little bit, but she was probably the only character I didn't particularly like. I really liked the rest of them, so it wasn't too much of an issue. I just wish she wasn't so whingy. Rainbow Rowell's writing throughout this book was just fantastic. I didn't know what to expect because she's not written fantasy before, but I was not disappointed. I really did enjoy it. Her descriptive writing with the locations was also amazing. I could picture every little location. I could picture the school, I could picture, you know, the Humdrum and all that lot. I could picture that so well, and I really like descriptive writing. I do talk about it quite a lot on my channel, so if you have watched my videos then you'll probably hear me discussing this quite a lot. But I could picture all her locations very well. I thought the character development was amazing, and it was just a really fun book to read, and I give this 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. The second book I read this month was Dancing Shoes by Noel Streatfeild, and this is about 2 girls called Hilary and Rachel. They are sisters, or they're kind of sisters. Hilary's adopted, but they count each other as sisters, and their parents unfortunately die, and they have to go and live with their aunt, who owns a dancing troupe called Mrs. Wintel's Little Wonders. Rachel really does not settle in too well whatsoever. She's not really that great at dancing or anything, and that's why she is put in group 3, which is the bottom group. Hilary, however, is quite quickly put into group 1, which is the top group, and they get to go to auditions, get casted in lots of different shows. Because Rachel doesn't really get to do much and the girls don't really get along with her, she really doesn't like being there and she finds it very difficult to settle in. She also finds it difficult that Hilary doesn't want to go to the Royal Ballet School, whereas her mum really wanted Hilary to go to the Royal Ballet School. So, and with her mum not being here anymore, that is quite difficult for Rachel to get to grips with. Throughout the story we see the difficulties between the sisters, and also how, even though they argue quite a bit, you can tell how they really need each other throughout, and their support is just fantastic with each other. Rachel never thinks she's going to get any sort of part in anything, but by the end she starts getting her hopes up a little bit, and you know, she can be used in some casting roles, and that's what she finds out. So she doesn't kind of give up hope then, she's kind of built herself back up and she is more happy with being at the school than she was originally. As well as those two girls, there is also Mrs. Wintle's daughter called Dulcie, and this is the girl's cousin. Dulcie isn't very nice, she's very stuck up, she loves herself, she thinks she's amazing, and so when Hilary comes along and proves that she is just as good, if not better than Dulcie at dancing and acting, Dulcie doesn't particularly like this. There's a bit of competition between them, that kind of thing. This book was really easy to follow actually. I found it super simple. It's not a difficult read at all. I didn't have to use my brain a bit too much, which in some books I do when it hurts. What I did find really easy about it was the fact that Hilary and Rachel were two completely different characters, so it was really easy to work out who was being talked about, who was talking, that kind of thing. It was just dead simple because of the fact they've got two completely different personalities. The only thing I would say that I would have quite liked to seen is Hilary and Rachel and Dulcie all become friends at the end, because that would have just been a nice little conclusion of the book. It's not that they don't become friends, it's just never really said, so maybe they become friends, I don't know. I'm going to say they've become friends just because that makes me happy. But yeah, I really did like revisiting this book. This was my reread of the month, and I would highly recommend it to anybody who loves dance and just a quick, fun read. I also give this 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. The next book I read was also a dance book, and that was Dancer by Colin McCann. This was so much more difficult to read. I didn't really enjoy it, to be perfectly honest with you. It was okay. This story is actually based on a dancer called Rudolph, and then I'm going to leave a second name on the screen somewhere because I'm not even going to try and pronounce it. And so we follow this character in this book. He's just called Ruddy because that's just how they've put him in the book. And it is just based on the book, so it is more or less the same, but obviously there's some little tweaks, like there's some name changes from the original story and things like that. So we first meet Ruddy when he is dancing in front of injured soldiers, and he's just a little boy at this point, and he really enjoys dance. We then skip to when he is in Paris, and he is a professional dancer in Paris, and he's touring and he's doing lots of shows. He has completely grown up and he gets into a lot of mischief and trouble and things in Paris. He's even in trouble with the police quite a lot, so he's not exactly the most well-behaved person in the world. That all sounds pretty good to me. Like, all of that story, I was like, yeah, I'm going to enjoy this. What I did have issues with was the fact that there was just unnecessary swearing throughout the book. I couldn't get, like, my language is not very good. I'm not gonna lie, my language isn't great. But the amount of swearing and it just not being necessary whatsoever really got to me, and I was like, there is no need for this whatsoever. I also didn't particularly like Ruddy because I thought he was way too full of himself. He thought he was absolutely everything, and he didn't really seem to care about anyone else. Although, when he was thinking about his family at home, he kind of showed his nicer side, and that's when we kind of realised that he does actually have a heart somewhere in there. But that was shown in tiny bits. There wasn't much. Most of the book was him just being a bit full of himself, to be honest, and I have no time for people like that. I just don't like people like that. Another thing I found difficult about this story was the change in perspectives of characters. I really like books where the character perspective changes, so it changes between different characters from different times and things like that, and I am really good with that. Kate Morton does a lot of books like that. Most of her books, I think, if not all, are done in that kind of way, and I absolutely love them. However, this one was just too hard to follow. I did not know who was speaking a lot of the time. I didn't know who was being spoken about. It was just really difficult to follow, and I got lost quite a lot of times. If I did enjoy anything about this book, it was the ending, and that sounds quite bad, but all the family, Ruddy's family and Ruddy himself, was brought back together, and it was just quite nice that it ended in a kind of family way, and you could really tell how much family means to them all. That's when you could kind of see the true emotions and everything in everyone. Other than that, I didn't get attached to any of the characters. I found the locations okay, but there weren't anything special. The language was just awful. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't like the language at all. I found the writing style a little bit difficult, but I did get into that, so that was okay. But yeah, overall, I didn't really think too much about this book, and I only give it 2 stars on Goodreads. And the final book I read this month was a book that I absolutely loved. It was probably my favourite book of the month, and that was Reasons to Stay Alive by Matt Haig. This is about Matt Haig's struggle with depression and anxiety. It is obviously a true story, and I flew through this book. It's not a very big book anyway, and the font in it is pretty huge, so it was really quick to read through, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. He tells stories about his past, he gives examples, he gives you lots of advice on ways to overcome things. He also doesn't make it sound all like, oh, if you do this, then you can, you'll be over it within no time whatsoever. He's not like that at all. He tells it just how it is. This happened through his stories he was telling when sometimes he tried to overcome anxiety or depression or whatever and he didn't succeed. It's not something that's going to just go away overnight, and he made sure that was present in his book. He is not trying to say that you can just get rid of it straight away. He also gives you a lot of different reading you can do throughout the book. So if you know someone with depression or anxiety, or if you suffer with it yourself, there are a lot of different resources you can go to that he gives in his books, and hopefully they will help. There were some really amazing quotes he came out with in this book. I'm not going to name any because there's millions of them. They were just fantastic, and so if you want to find out the kind of things I've been reading, then definitely give it a read because it was amazing and it will not let you down, I am pretty sure. I was just really impressed by this book, and it is the first non-fiction book I think I've read this year. I think it is. So yeah, I'm really, really happy about this one, and I give it 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. So that is it for my February wrap-up. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you've read any of the books I've mentioned, by all means leave your opinions on any of them in the comments below. As always, all of my social media links are in the description. If you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you all in my next video very soon. Bye!